Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, we need all praises, all honor, and all glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Hachwadash. And I want to give double honor to the apostles, the bishops, the elders at GMS. Shalom to you, brothers that's preaching and teaching the truth and sincerity across the four winds of the earth. And last night, I don't know if I even follow him on Twitter. I think I do, right? But the White House uploaded this document, right? Right, if you go on their Twitter page, you can find it. Just look up. It's called. I think the Twitter page is called the White House, and it's called COVID right .gov. And I'm just gonna say it how it is because the cat's out the bag, right? Right. Right. So it's called the lab leak. It says the true origins. Right. It says the true origins, right? It says of the COVID-19, right? It says the origin. It says the proximal origin of the SARS-CoV-2 publication. It says which was used repeatedly by public health officials. It says in the media to discredit the lab leak theory. It says was prompted by Dr. Fauci. It says to push the preferred narrative that the COVID-19 originated naturally, right? And I'm gonna look this up. I'm going to do this right along, with you brothers, sisters, follow along as well. Right. Now I want to look up what is the leak lab theory. It's the word I'm looking for. Surrounding COVID-19. Right. And this is just a whole thing of the big, I'm probably going to entitle the video, the bigger I told you so moment is coming. And there's videos, and I've been seeing a couple clips of they having Dr. Fauci on trial. These people asking him questions and doing all this, and he's not answering not a single thing. He wouldn't even answer what color his tie was. Do you see? And even he was smirking, during certain clips and so on and so forth. These people, right? And what I mean by the bigger I told you so moment, is coming is when telling you Jake and you heathens your judgment, right? We're telling you 2/3, hey, you better get right, or you Israelites, you better get right and repent. Right, and all types of hell and famine and pestilence and disease and all these things is getting ready to take place on the planet Earth. Right, that bigger moment the bigger I told you so moment is coming. But we told you about this whole thing, man, not to take that. It came out with a whole vax in the same year the thing came out, damn near, or a year after. It takes way longer than that to develop a whole vaccine. So that's why we say the pandemic. You see, and I believe this was in The Simpsons or one of the Illuminati card games. I believe it was in The Simpsons, something along those lines about the whole COVID-19 thing happening, man. Right? But here it is, you people, and the thing is now, the people that took it is probably seeing this with Dr. Fauci and all these things and regretting their decisions. But then, when that whole thing happened, man, it was like a war against the people that had it, that took the juice and didn't take the juice, and the people that didn't want to wear masks and the people that did. It was a whole war going on, man. It was a whole war going on between the people that accepted it and took it and didn't, and was, nah, I'm not for that. But now look, I got family members that took this, man. And I remember when I forgot what happened, but we was coming home from somewhere, or we was coming from out of town, right? A couple years ago, a lot of years ago, around that time where that thing was happening, and we went to my auntie house. It was late at night, and I forgot exactly what was happening, right? But it's not really important. But I remember getting ready to go in the house to drop off something to my auntie, whatever the case, and she freaked out. She was like, "You better get out the house. You just came from out of town. This virus is really going around." And I'm just like, "Oh, all right, man." You see, that people had people shook and in a panic. That whole COVID-19 was a war, man. But now come to find out that everything that we was talking about against that thing is starting to come true, or it is true. So let's look up what this is, man. It is, I said, what is the leak lab theory, right? Let's see what it says here. It says the lab leak theory, right? It says posits that the SARS-CoV-2, right? It says the virus responsible for the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm still gonna say the vid, right? I just got so used to saying that code name. The COVID-19 pandemic originated from a research facility in Wuhan, China, specifically the Wuhan Institute of Virology. It says it accidentally escaped into the public rather than spilling over naturally from animals to humans. It says at a wet market. The core arguments of theory. It says proximity to the outbreak. The Wuhan Institute of Virology. It says it's China's premier laboratory. It says for studying the coronavirus. It says it sits in the same city where the first human cases were documented. Early sickness. It says advocates point to intelligence reports alleging that several WIV researchers fell ill with the COVID-19 like symptoms in autumn of 2019, months before the official outbreak was announced. Right? It says the distinct biological trait. It says some theorists highlight the virus furin cleavage site. It says a genetic feature that enhances its ability to infect human cells, right, in fair use, right, and this is not medical information, right. It says it could be a sign of lab engineering. However, many virologists, it says this feature is naturally occurring in the other coronaviruses, right. I ain't gonna read all that, but pretty much the leak lab theory was pretty much saying that it started right in the lab and it didn't actually come from animals or monkeys or whatever they were saying back then. All right, and then you come to think about that time period, right? Moab was catching hell at that time. People was not just Jake, but Jake was doing it too, right? People was pushing Moab down the stairs, punching them, fighting them, all because of what Trump was getting on the news talking about with the Chinese virus. Which in that instance is really, he wasn't wrong, right? Because it came from over there, but he was saying it as in that these people had it first, and these the reason why this is happening. And I remember that, man. That was that whole 2019, 2020, 2021 was a time to be alive, man. That was a crazy time period. And I was talking to a woman about that, a couple of days ago, about that time, and just laughing and making jokes about that time, because that time was crazy. I remember I was in a drive-thru and I literally only got, it was an apple juice. I literally only got apple juice, and the lady told me on the speaker, she said, before you come to the window, you have to have a mask on. I was, what? Of course I put it on, but it's just like, what is going on? Everybody, the 6 feet thing, if you coughed, people looked at you like you was an alien, like you needed to be beheaded, you need to be stoned. You need to get out of this country. You cough too much. You sneeze. And you did anything like that, people was ready to persecute you. That was a time, man. Like, I was just looking back at that. It's just like, it happened so fast. Right now we're in so-called 2026, and it's just like, wow. Looking back at that time, it's just like, man. And another one's coming. Don't think it's gonna end there. And America's gonna hit no. They have another one. They have another pandemic coming. And best believe the White House, the fact that they released this whole article, it's all controlled information, man. Right? They don't be like, oh, the White House, they're the good people because they're releasing. No, they're not. Right? So that's the, obviously you can read more about it, but let's go. I want to go back into this article here. Right? Okay. So this is one. It's 5 of them. We're going to read these. Right. It says the virus possesses, a biological characteristic that is not found in nature. It says data shows that all COVID-19 cases stem from a single introduction into humans. This runs contrary to previous pandemics, it says, where there were multiple spillover events. It says Wuhan is home to China's foremost SARS research lab. It says, which has a history of conducting gain of function research, gene altering an organism, supercharging at inadequate biosafety levels. So, another thing, reading this and going into this now they have a good finger to point. America is good at finger pointing. You see, they're very good at finger pointing. Have things happen, or have these nations do things, or them do it, and then point the finger and like, hey, look at these people, what's wrong? Like, it's always to get the heat and thing off them. But Dr. Fauci, right, is an important part of this. That's why his ass is on trial. But nothing's going to happen to him. Right, the man is probably, billions of dollars. Right, he knows, and he doesn't care, man. And we've told you that these people are saying this. You can tell, and I might do a part 2. But you can tell, looking at him, had these people going off, yelling at him and doing all these things, and he constantly just keep reading the same script that one of his lawyers gave him about how he doesn't have to answer questions because of the Fifth Amendment or whatever the case may be. And you can see he's smirking, and in one of the clips he's laughing. He's about to laugh because he was saying it over and over again. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care about you people, man. These people are saying this, man. They do not care about the human. That was a lab experiment. That was a lab experiment. They just wanted to see what people would do to get back to so-called normal and put foreign Jew things in your body to see what it does. And they knew what it was doing. Like, this wasn't just, they were just, we will hurry up and try to heal America and to get everything back. No, that was all planned. All of that. And you people still look at us like we crazy. But we gonna find out, like I said, that the biggest I told you so moment is coming, man. Slack you. Let's see. Let's keep going. Let's go to number 4. It says Wuhan. I already say it. I'm gonna say Wuhan. Wuhan Institute of Virology, the WIV. It says researchers were sick. It says with the like symptoms in the fall of 2019, months before the vid-19 was discovered at the wet markets. It says this is number 5. It says by nearly all measures of science. It says if there was evidence, it says of a natural origin, it would have already surfaced, but it hasn't, right? And this is like a map of the institute and the market, or whatever the case may be, and just showing how far the distance is between the two, right? But this lab, for what they said, they're known, right, has a history, right? It says of gene altering an organism supercharging. Do you see? And then this is a whole lot of different things right here that you can read about. This is where it goes about the there's something else about Fauci in one of these, and I just briefly glanced over. I haven't fully read all of this stuff in here. It says Dr. David Morens, right? Dr. Fauci's senior advisor. It says Dr. David Morens deliberately, it says, obstructed the select subcommittee's investigation, likely lied to Congress on multiple occasions, unlawfully deleted federal vid-19 records, and shared non-public information about the NIH's grants processes with Eco Health President Dr. Peter Daszak, or whatever, right? And you could watch this. I watched like the first couple of minutes, but I didn't. I might skim through it and see what information is here. Let's see here. Mask mandates. It says there was no conclusive evidence that masks effectively protected. And even when that thing happened, when that whole situation happened, they were even saying that the juice wasn't going to fully protect you. So what the hell makes you think a mask was? It says there was no conclusive evidence that masks effectively protected Americans from the vid-19. Public health officials flip-flopped on the efficiency It says of mask without providing, it says American scientific data causing a massive uptick in public distrust. And that's what and that's what it is, man. They were fear mongering. Like I was just saying, if you didn't have a mask on, if you coughed one too many times, you sneezed, you was touching people, you was standing too close, all those things during that time, people were ready to persecute you, man. They was, hey, man, he got to go. And that mask thing was a crazy, man. People would die for that, man. You didn't have a mask on, man, back then. Lockdowns. It says prolonged lockdowns caused immeasurable harm not to only the American economy, but also to the mental and physical health of Americans. It says with a particularly, it says negative effect on younger citizens. It says rather than prioritizing the protection of the most vulnerable populations, federal and state government policies force millions of Americans to forego crucial elements of a healthy and financial sound life. And people was losing jobs. All types of things was happening during that time, and that's coming back. That's gonna come back bigger. Misinformation. It says public health officials often misled the American people. It says through conflicting messaging, knee-jerk reactions. It says and lack of transparency. It says the federal government demonized. It says alternative. It says treatments and disfavored narratives, such as the lab leak theory. It says in a shameful effort to coerce. It says to control the American people's health decisions. Right? They was all going on the news talking about, no, you need to get the vaccine. And they was going to extreme measures to make sure people got it. They was offering a jab for a jiggle. I did a video about that when it came out, jab for a jiggle. They was offering people donuts, Shake Shack burgers. They was just doing all types of things. You see? Just for you to get it. And if you was talking about that back then, videos get deleted. Right? All types of things, man. They wanted people to get that. It says when those efforts fail, it says the Biden administration resorted to the outright censorship. It says coursing and colluding. It says with the world's largest social media companies to censor all COVID-19 related dissent. Right, and this is something else going on, all that. Got people's names and everything that was going on with that. But this is what's happening, man. Right? The lesson learned and the path forward. And this is an article. I'll put it in the description if I remember. But that's it, man. You know, it's interesting to see, you know, everything that we talked about, you know, starting to unfold and people realizing that, okay, maybe these people are right. Maybe they aren't crazy. But it's going to take a lot more for these people to finally wake up. And once these people finally wake up to what's really getting ready to happen and what's happening on Earth, then it's going to be too late. The damage is already going to have been done. The troops are already going to be busting down your door. You are already going to be in a detention center. It's going to be too late. But it's going to be more and more things that's going to start to unfold that we've been telling you that's going to happen. Right? And like I told you, that bigger I told you so moment is coming, man. This is just one of them. We told you people not to trust. And all the Israelites that was out there, no, you need to trust them. I'm going to take the jab so you can take it. You need to take it so you can travel. You can do all this. And they was on camera doing all that. They was set up, man. Set up. They didn't care about the flock. They didn't care about the sheep. They didn't care. The fact that they would tell you to go put this unforeign substance in their body, right? You know they were for the other side. Right? We never told you to go take that. Hey, and if you did take it and you repent and pray and... you know, hopefully the Most High can heal you, man, because who knows what that thing's going to do. Right? They put that in your body, it's just going to sit there. It's going to do what it's supposed to do, because they was testing those things. They was, okay, this is going to do this to this blood type. If you got this type of body weight, it's going to do this. They tested all that stuff, man. And they was just freely giving it out. Esau don't give out nothing for free. So the fact that they was just, you give you a donut and all this stuff, if you showed that you got it, it's just like, come on, man. Like they was going to extreme measures. It was very suspicious, right? But people outside of the truth, obviously, they don't pick up on that. But us, right, in the truth, we know the characteristics of Esau. He ain't gonna give you nothing for free like that if it ain't gonna harm you. Right, so that's pretty much it. I just want to go into this video. Actually, let's see here. All right, get this scripture. We ain't gonna make a video and not get at least one. Right. Actually, we won't get two. Actually, let's get this one. Prophet among them. It's in Ezekiel, I believe. And Ezekiel 2 and 5. It says, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear. It says, for they are a rebellious house. It says, yet shall know that there hath been a prophet among them. And right, so we tell people this information, whether you hear, whether you don't, whether you hear, whether you forbear, does not matter. We're here to bring out the whole councilman and bring out the whole truth of the matter about really what's going on. But people are going to find out, right, that there has been a prophet among them, right? So, and then let's get what is that? Second Corinthians 5, 2 Corinthians 2, 2 Corinthians 2, right? Get this in NLT. 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. It says, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes, man. We're familiar with what Esau does, man. And like I said at the beginning, even with them coming out and publishing this information, it's still all controlled, man. So that now they finally come out and admit it. They don't make it seem like that they're on the good guys now. No. It's still all part of the plans, man. So I'm going to shut it down. Like I said, I'm going to do a part 2. Maybe I'm going to go into some of the clips of Fauci and what was going on then, man. We're going to bring it out through the Spirit. So, hope the lesson was edifying when he fall praises.